Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books, and I have been covering Disney really closely, especially all of the goings-on with Nelson Peltz, trying to basically change the entire direction of Disney. Bob Iger is desperately trying to hold on to control of all of the decision-making and all of the future and all of the strategy and all of the treatment of all of the brands at Disney that he had a big part in kind of putting together. Nelson Peltz ain't having it. Nelson Peltz is an investor. They call him an activist investor. It just means that he's looking to make changes at the company. Doesn't mean that he's an activist for social issues. He's an activist for trying to push the company to make change. And he's done this with other major companies more than 30 times before and several times successfully. And people who've worked with Nelson Peltz have really good things to say about him. Not always while they're fighting, but after the fighting is done and Peltz has had an opportunity to work with the company, use his network of connections because he's 80 years old. He's been around. He's done this many times before. He is a very sharp guy. Bob Iger doesn't want to have any of it. And the gentleman, of course, in the middle is Ike Perlmutter, one of the people really important who saved Marvel Comics when it was going bankrupt, managed to turn it into a success again, and then sold it to Disney, who is very disappointed with how Disney has been treating the characters, and Ike was also forced out of Marvel. Now, there are a couple of articles we have on this. They're all very interesting. Let's get into this first article. Before we do, please be sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. Coming from Deadline, Disney says Nelson Peltz on their board would threaten strategic management at crucial time as proxy battle boils. The proxy battle is Nelson Peltz looking to become one of the members of the board of directors. It doesn't mean he's in charge of the board of directors. Neither is Iger technically in charge of the board of directors. The board is supposed to come up with decisions independently and in a combined way, and then they vote and they make decisions, but really Iger has control of a lot of the people. One person on there to start other kinds of arguments who's been as successful as Nelson Peltz has been with other major companies could be a major change at Disney. You're talking about no more Bob Iger woke inclusion focused content. You're talking about content that honors the brands. As Nelson Peltz says, he wants to get the flywheel working at Disney again, meaning getting people excited about the franchises. As a result, they buy merchandise, they get to the other Disney experiences, they go on the theme parks, they can go on cruises and be excited about Disney brands again. That's what Nelson Peltz wants. It's not what Bob Iger wants. With Nelson Peltz angling for a seat on Disney's board, the company on Thursday blasted the activist investor, his firm Trian Group, and his son, Matthew Peltz, whom Trian is proposing as a possible alternate candidate to himself. Quote, the Disney board of directors does not endorse Nelson Peltz or his son Matthew as a nominee and believes the election of either Mr. Peltz or his son would threaten the strategic management of Disney during a period of important change in the media landscape, the company said today. You know, what's interesting about this is yes, there would be a threat to the status quo at Disney. You would not be able to go on and do whatever you wanted to do, Bob Iger, with the board just supporting any idea that you possibly had. You would have someone who would be a contrarian, who would say, hey, look, maybe we should look twice at this decision. Maybe we should restructure the company differently. And that's definitely what Peltz has been saying. So why shouldn't they have different points of view on the board? There really is no argument. Let me know what you think of that in the comments below. Disney shareholders will vote on the board of directors at the next annual meeting. This event is usually in early March, but may be delayed a bit this year. The company is proposing a slate of 11 directors. It used to be 12 until the retirement of former board chair Susan Arnold. Peltz has gotten himself added to the ballot, and the battle, called a proxy fight, is heating up. The 11 directors with the most votes win, so Peltz has to basically unseat one of Disney's nominees and has targeted Michael Froman. He is citing Froman's lack of board experience and urging shareholders to withhold support for Froman and vote for him instead. So if Peltz can get more votes than Michael Froman, Peltz will be elected to the board, even if Bob Iger despises Nelson Peltz. Not up to Bob Iger. It's up to the votes. Both Disney and Trian are sending all Disney shareholders voting cards with the full list of board candidates and their recommendations. Shareholders will use the card to vote. It's essential that you vote for Nelson Peltz and withhold on Michael B.G. Froman. If you do not withhold on Michael B.G. Froman, this could jeopardize the goal of electing Nelson Peltz to the board. Even if you vote for Nelson, Trian urged in an SEC filing today. Its justification. Trian Group believes Mr. Froman has no experience as a public company director outside of Disney, and moreover has served as a member of the governance and nominating committee of the board, which the Trian Group believes has overseen weak corporate governance at the company, such as buying Fox for $71 billion which they did sell two divisions for about $24 billion, so it really wasn't a full $71 billion by the time the deal was done, in all fairness. In contrast, Nelson Peltz has served on numerous public company boards over the last several years, including the Procter & Gamble Company, Unilever plc, Mondelez International Incorporated, they make Oreos, and the Wendy's Company, and has a long track record of working with management teams and boards in turning around companies with strong underlying fundamentals that are facing meaningful challenges. This is all true. In addition, having Mr. Peltz, who has a significant ownership stake of Disney stock, will bring a shareholder mentality to the boardroom. That's a pretty good argument that wouldn't it be nice if one of the people making decisions for the company actually personally owned a lot of their stock? Accordingly, we believe that Mr. Peltz's experience makes him a better positioned board member than Mr. Froman to help the board enhance accountability, assign executive compensation with shareholders' interests, plan for leadership succession, address operational challenges, and improve capital allocation practices, how they spend money on executives and how they spend money on investing in either buying companies or making big financial investments and decisions. Disney, for its part, said the attack on Froman is inexplicable, calling him a highly valued member of the board with deep background in global trade and international business, who the board believes is far better qualified than either Mr. Peltz or his son to help drive value for shareholders. Neither Mr. Peltz nor his son offer skills or expertise additive to the Disney board that replace the decades-long experience of Mr. Froman. That is a very thin and pretty ridiculous statement, but Disney is in a panic over Peltz. Mr. Froman's decades of experience in business and international affairs are critical to helping Disney assess the risks and opportunities in an increasingly complex global marketplace, given its strategic focus on global growth of its customer base and innovation in changing markets. Also, I'm not convinced. Mr. Froman has served as a U.S. trade representative where he worked on trade-related issues to advance the interests of the U.S. government and American businesses in foreign markets, including on issues affecting the digital economy, the usage and protection of data, and intellectual property rights, all of which are critical to Disney's businesses. I mean, what they could do is they could cite specific circumstances, which they are not doing, saying, hey, well, Froman did this for Disney. Froman did that for Disney. You should know if Froman leaves, we may not be able to do such and such for Disney. They're just speaking in generalities and trying to assign specific credentials to this guy. I'm not seeing it. He served as assistant to the President of the United States and Deputy National Security. Who cares about that? For International Economic Policy, a position held jointly at the National Security Council and the National Economic Council. He also served as Chief Executive Officer of Citi Insurance and Chief Operating Officer of Citigroup's Alternative Investments business, and is currently Vice Chairman and President of Strategic Growth of MasterCard Incorporated. He works closely with his fellow members of the Disney board to guide the company, providing expert advice on complex international economic policy and regulatory affairs to assist with Disney's international strategy and operations, among other matters. If they have regulatory issues in foreign countries, and they absolutely do, that's an executive matter. That's not a board matter, at all. Trian started nudging Disney last year, seeking meetings first with former CEO Bob Chapek and then current CEO Bob Iger, as well as board members. Marvel chairman Ike Perlmutter helped arrange some of the meetings. Trian has been restrained in criticizing Iger, but has come out swinging at the board, that latest today, for what it claims are myriad failings, including poor leadership planning, failing to instill a culture of accountability, owning very little Disney stock, and not heeding constructive shareholder input. And the reason why Peltz is staying away from Iger is because if Iger wasn't at Disney right now, Disney would be even much more unstable and the stock would be in much worse shape. It would be very easy for the board to say, look, now is not the time to change Bob Iger. It's not the time to challenge Bob Iger. Of course, Peltz is not going to attack Bob Iger. It would make him look silly. Disney is urging shareholders to throw away voting ballots sent by Nelson Peltz. Just throw them away. I mean, I've never heard of something like that. There have been plenty of CEOs that have said negative things about Peltz when Peltz was fighting with the CEOs. I saw a couple colorful things, but I've never seen any of them say, yeah, just throw away the voting ballots. Don't vote. You don't need to. Just throw Nelson's away. Vote for ours. Never seen that before, but now I've seen it. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Can you see where Peltz and Ike Perlmutter really should be influential with Disney, that what they have to offer seems like it makes some sense? Because since Bob Iger decided to start pushing his ideological agenda into the franchises, they've become weaker. People are less excited about Disney. Now Disney stock has tanked. Disney Plus isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. They lost $11 billion so far trying to launch Disney Plus when they could have just spent that or much less to buy the part of Hulu that they didn't own. Now they're talking about having to sell ESPN, but they can't really sell ESPN. Why? Because ESPN really helps with their distribution. It's part of their cable bundle and their marketing for all of their cable channels. They can't really just mess around with, say, selling ESPN, or I've seen suggestions about swapping ESPN for the percentage of Hulu that Comcast owns. They can't do that. It would be great for them to own 100% of Hulu, probably, but who's going to manage it? There's a lot of problems at Disney, and Peltz just wants the help, but Iger wants to control it all, and he doesn't want to give up on the ideological control. But he is getting cornered. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments below. Do you think Peltz is going to get on the board of directors? And if he does, do you think it'll make a difference? I think there's a good chance he gets on. But if he doesn't get on, he's going to push them publicly even harder. Always like to see your comments. Definitely let me know what you think. Please be sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.